How did your ex try to control your life? My husband required me to document every single penny I spent with itemized receipts and written explanations because he believed that wives who couldn't account for every cent were stealing from their husbands. He trapped me financially before I even realized what was happening. He convinced me to quit my job after our engagement, saying he'd support us both while I planned the wedding. He had me close my personal accounts to simplify finances and put everything in his name for tax purposes. He isolated me from my family by picking fights until I was too embarrassed to visit them. By our wedding day, I had no money, no job, no credit cards, and no one to turn to. He'd smile and say, "What's yours is mine," knowing that what I had was nothing. After we married, my husband presented me with a leather-bound ledger and explained the new rules. Every purchase required a receipt taped to a page with a written explanation of why it was necessary, the alternatives I'd considered, and how long the item would last. He gave me a weekly allowance of $40 for all personal needs. Failure to produce a receipt meant the amount was deducted from next week's allowance, with interest. My husband was strict and merciless. When I bought tampons, he demanded to know why I needed the name brand and made me research generic alternatives while bleeding through my clothes. A 50-cent price difference in milk required a written explanation of why I'd chosen that store, with gas mileage calculations to prove it was cost-effective. He would interrogate me about a missing penny for hours, accusing me of building a secret fund to leave him. I started getting stress ulcers but couldn't afford medication because he said it would come out of my allowance and I wouldn't have enough for food. I had no phone except one he monitored, no car access without his permission, and no way to contact anyone without him knowing. He'd moved us hours from my family and monitored the home phone bill for any calls. When my period was late from malnutrition, he celebrated the money we'd save on feminine products. I wore the same 3 outfits in rotation because clothing requests triggered lectures about vanity. He would go through garbage cans to match receipts with actual items, and once made me dig a receipt out of a public trash can in the rain while strangers watched. I once fainted and hit my head at the grocery store from hunger because I'd skipped meals to afford my mother's birthday card, and he berated me in the hospital for the ambulance cost. While he ranted about medical bills, I realized I'd rather be homeless than live another day documenting why I deserved basic necessities. I told him I was done with his ledgers and receipts, and that normal husbands don't make their wives account for tampons like business expenses. He laughed and said, "You can't even afford lunch without me, but sure, try to leave." That's when I revealed I'd been saving coins from grocery trips by collecting change I found on the ground. His face went purple as he realized I'd been stealing for months. I walked out with nothing but the clothes I was wearing and the $43 in change I'd saved over 2 years of humiliation. I had nowhere to go but a women's shelter, but at least I wasn't with him. But my husband retaliated by showing up at the women's shelter screaming that I was a thief who owed him $43 in stolen coins. He followed me to job interviews and told managers I couldn't be trusted with their cash registers because I'd steal from them like I stole from him. He called every phone in the shelter repeatedly, reading individual receipts out loud and demanding I explain each purchase from our entire marriage. He sat outside with signs listing everything I'd bought without permission, including tampons and toothpaste. He offered other residents $20 each to report my spending to him. He even contacted my estranged father, who I hadn't spoken to in years, and convinced him I needed financial supervision, getting him to show up demanding I come live under his control instead. Finally, he attacked me outside the shelter for not having receipts for the donated clothes I was wearing. He grabbed my purse searching for the $43 while screaming about theft as witnesses called the police. When officers arrived, he showed them his receipt ledgers as proof I was a criminal, but all they saw was thousands of pages documenting how he'd controlled my access to things I needed to survive. The judge granted my divorce immediately and ordered him to pay support based on the detailed financial records he'd kept. I have more money now than I ever have in my life.